Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the third lecture of Training and Development. You remember that in the previous sessions, we were discussing that the world is becoming increasingly complex and the change is becoming much more faster and more rapid than in the previous times. So these were the two things that we had discussed, that change is rapid and world is becoming more complex. In today's session, we are going to discuss the implications of these two things, change and complexity. Change और complexity की वजह से आजकल के current environment में कौन सी ऐसी चीजें हैं, कौन से ऐसे factors हैं जो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को अफेक्ट कर रहे हैं और स्पेसिफिकली वो फोर्सेस ट्रेनिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट फंक्शन के ऊपर किस तरह से असरअंदाज होती हैं. सो आजकल के एनवायरनमेंट में, आजकल के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कौन सी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो कि बहुत प्रोमिनेंट हैं, जो कि डिफरेंट हैं पहले के कॉन्टेक्स्ट से, जो कि नई हैं इस जमाने के लिए. आप सोचें तो सबसे पहली बात जो जहन में आएगी कि दुनिया कैसे बदल रही है, दुनिया कैसे चेंज हो रही है, वो ये कि ग्लोबलाइजेशन, दुनिया में ग्लोबलाइजेशन बढ़ रही है. द वर्ल्ड इज बिकमिंग अ ग्लोबल विलेज. टेक्नोलॉजी में एडवांसमेंट की वजह से कनेक्शंस बहुत आसान हो गए हैं. गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज, इंफॉर्मेशन कैन बी ट्रांसपोर्टेड at a much rapid pace than previously. For example, in the 1700s, it almost took about a year to transport goods and information from one end of the world to the other end. And in only 300 years, we have advanced so much that as far as information is concerned, information is transmitted live from any part of the world to the other part. So there is no time lag between information. And as far as goods are concerned, the system of transport and cargo that has become so much more efficient with faster technology, with advanced technology, that goods and materials can be transported at a much rapid pace. I will give you a very personal example of how goods can be efficiently and quickly transferred from one place to the other. One of my colleagues, she went to America, to Los Angeles to study, and she was very fond of cheesecakes. उसको चीज केक्स बड़े अच्छे लगते थे. तो LA में उसने किसी स्पेसिफिक कंपनी का चीज केक खाया जो कि उसको बहुत पसंद आया, और जब वो पढ़ के वापस आ गई यहाँ पर तो वो ये कहती थी कि जो चीज केक मैंने वहां खाया था वैसा चीज केक मुझे यहाँ नहीं कहीं पे मिला. वो जो उस चीज केक की बात थी वो और किसी चीज केक में नहीं. तो देन शी गॉट मैरिड and her husband had to get a gift for her birthday. So that her husband, he got in contact with an importer in Pakistan. ये अभी हम पाकिस्तान की बात कर रहे हैं. So he got in contact with an importer and that importer told him that this can be done. The cheesecake that is made in Los Angeles can actually be brought into Pakistan and delivered very easily. So her husband got very happy कि that is going to be a real surprise for her. वो तो बहुत खुश होगी. So लेकिन वो इम्पोर्टर ने ये कहा कि मैं एग्जैक्ट स्पेसिफिक डेट जो है वो नहीं स्पेसिफाई कर सकता. आई एम नॉट श्योर कि वो उसकी एग्जैक्टली बर्थडे पे ही मिलेगा आपको या नहीं मिलेगा, लेकिन आई विल ट्राई माई बेस्ट. सो इन द एंड that importer was able to get that cheesecake from LA, get it flown from LA to Pakistan in Lahore, and it was actually delivered on that date, on the date of her birthday. So a perishable good, a cake which is such a perishable good, even that can be transported at such efficient and fast speeds in present times. और वो भी हम पाकिस्तान की बात कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे eBay डिलीवर नहीं करता, जहाँ पे Amazon डिलीवर नहीं करता, जहाँ पे दुनिया का कोई बड़ा रिटेलर डिलीवर नहीं करता, उस कंट्री में भी इतने आराम से गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट हो सकती हैं. तो बाकी डेवलप जो दुनिया है उसमें तो ट्रांसपोर्ट टाइम्स बहुत ही शॉर्ट हो गए हैं, बहुत ही रिड्यूस हो गए हैं. इसका इम्प्लीकेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए क्या है? ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, आपको पता है कि corporations, they are expanding into various countries and they are becoming multinational corporations. So a parent company that goes into another country and it starts its operations over there. You have examples of so many multinational companies in Pakistan, all over the world. So जो चीज़ आपको अमेरिका में मिल सकती है वही आपको पाकिस्तान में भी मिल सकती है, वही आपको चाइना में भी मिल सकती है, वही आपको ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी मिल सकती है. उसी कंपनी की बनी हुई चीज़ उन्हीं के रिटेल स्टोर से डिलीवर हो रही होगी. ये सब कुछ ग्लोबलाइजेशन की वजह से पॉसिबल है. ग्लोबलाइजेशन की इम्प्लीकेशन सिर्फ उन कंपनीज के लिए ही नहीं है जिनके अपने ग्लोबल ऑपरेशंस हैं या जिनके अपने इंटरनेशनल ऑपरेशंस हैं. इसकी इम्प्लीकेशंस उन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए भी हैं जो के इंटरनेशनली ऑपरेशंस नहीं अभी रन करते. डोमेस्टिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए भी ग्लोबलाइजेशन की उतनी ही इम्प्लीकेशंस हैं जितनी उन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए हैं जो कि इंटरनेशनल ऑपरेशंस को रन करते हैं. डोमेस्टिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए क्या इम्प्लीकेशंस हैं? ये कि सबसे पहले जब उनकी टेरिटरी में, उनके डोमेन में दूसरी मल्टीनेशनल कॉर्पोरेशंस कोई फॉरेन सब्सिडरी आके उन्हीं के ऑपरेशंस जो है वो रन करेगी तो उनके लिए कंपटीशन डेवलप होगा. सो एक तो ये कि कंपटीशन को जो है वो आपने उसके साथ कोप करना है. उसके अलावा और जो जिनके इंटरनेशनल ऑपरेशंस हैं, जिन कॉर्पोरेशंस के, जिन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के, उनके लिए क्या इम्प्लीकेशंस हैं ह्यूमन रिसोर्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से? उनके लिए ये इम्प्लीकेशंस हैं कि उनको किसी और मुल्क में जाके, किसी और कल्चर में जाके अपने ऑपरेशंस रन करने हैं. उनको किसी और मुल्क के, किसी और कल्चर के लोगों को हायर करना है जिनके बारे में, जिनके कल्चर के बारे में वो नहीं जानते, जिनकी ट्रेडिशंस के बारे में वो नहीं जानते, वो लोग किस तरह काम करते हैं, उनका वर्क पैटर्न क्या है वो उसके बारे में नहीं जानते. तो उनको किसी और जगह पे जाके ऐसे लोगों को हायर करना है क्योंकि उनको आप साथ शामिल करेंगे तो आपके ऑपरेशंस जो हैं वो ज़्यादा सक्सेसफुल होंगे. तो आपके लिए ये इम्प्लीकेशन है. फिर ये कि आपने अपनी पेरेंट कंपनी से लोगों को फॉरेन सब्सिडरी में ऑपरेट करने के लिए भेजना है. तो जब आपने फॉरेन सब्सिडरी में ऑपरेट करने के लिए भेजना है तो आपने लोगों को रेलोकेट करना है. तो जब आपने लोगों को किसी और मुल्क में भेजना है काम करने के लिए, यू नीड टू ट्रेन देम, you need to give them an orientation about the culture of the country, about the way things are done in that country. And when these people, they come back to the parent country, you need to get them adjusted to the previous culture as well. So these are all the implications of the human resource function of globalization in the present economy. Okay, so another thing that is affecting today's organizations, today's businesses, are the economic cycles. Economic cycle से क्या मतलब है? What does economic cycle mean? That there are times of boom and there are times of recession. So in times of recession, what happens is that organizations, they need to cut costs, they need to control costs, they need to budget things very strictly. In such situations, downsizing also occurs. Whereas because the situation is in recession, the economy is in recession, people have less and less incomes, people have less and less savings, so they want to prolong their work time, they want to keep working. So people who are going to retire, they want to postpone their retirement, or they want to come back to work after their retirement because their savings and their previous incomes were not sufficient enough to look after their cost of living. So एक तरफ downsizing हो रही है, एक तरफ लोग ज़्यादा काम करना चाह रहे हैं. So इसका effect जो है वो training and development function के ऊपर किस तरह से आता है? How does training and development function get affected by that? The effect is that the organizations, they need to take a closer look at their training and development function, at the kind of trainings that are being done, what is the cost of that training, and what are the returns that are being sought out of that training and development efforts. So they need to be calculated, they need to be seen that whether there is any link between the training and development activities that are being done and returns that are that they get out of those training and development activities. So the programs that are emphasized in the time of recession are the programs that link the training and development activities with the business strategy. There must be a strong link between what is being offered as a training activity, as a development activity, and whether that contributes anything to the business strategy. So there has to be a very strong link between that. Other programs that are run in the times of recession are those that inculcate or that develop leadership skills in people and that develop the change management skills of the managers and employees of an organization. So leadership skills और change management skills develop करने की क्या ज़रूरत है recession में? उसकी ये ज़रूरत है कि recession में आपको अपनी organization के operations को quickly और efficiently change करना पड़ता है ताकि जो environment की ज़रूरत हो आप उसके मुताबिक अपनी organization को mold कर सकें, उसको transform कर सकें, आप वो products जो हैं वो sell करें जो के required हैं, जो के आराम से और effectively market में sale होंगे. Because recession में budgets बहुत tight होते हैं, profits margin बहुत कम होते हैं, तो आपको काम जो है वो बहुत specifically targeted तौर पे करना पड़ता है. So change management की ये ज़रूरत है और leadership की ये ज़रूरत है कि leadership आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की चेंज मैनेजमेंट को मोबिलाइज करती है. इट इज द लीडर्स हु आर एबल टू टेक योर कंपनी और योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आउट ऑफ रिसेशन और आउट ऑफ लॉसेस. सो लीडरशिप इज द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट फंक्शन ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन व्हेन an organization is facing crisis or it is facing any problems. So that is why training programs that link training to business strategy and programs that are focused on leadership and change management skills are focused more in the time of recession because they are closely linked to the implications of recession of an economy or of an organization. Another thing which is becoming more and more important in current times is the importance that is given to the intangible assets of an organization. आपको पता है कि एक organization के 3 तरह के assets हो सकते हैं. एक तो आपके फाइनेंशियल एसेट्स, which are the cash and deposits that you have, the liquid assets. The second one are your physical assets, like your buildings and machinery and structures and all. And the third one are your intangible assets. Intangible assets that cannot be seen, or that are not material things. So intangible assets में या intangible capital में कौन कौन सी चीजें आती हैं? What are the different type of intangible capital that an organization holds? आज से 40-50 साल 100 साल पहले capital was only the issued, authorized and paid up capital of the organization. जो investment उसमें की हुई है वो capital, और जो profits जो हैं वो accumulate हुए हैं उसको ही capital कहते थे. But now there is more and more emphasis given to the intangible capital of an organization. What are the different various types of the intangible capital that an organization holds? One is the human capital. You must have heard the importance of human capital in your courses in human resource management. The second type is the customer capital, the kind of customers that you have. हम इन सबको अभी डिटेल में बात करते हैं उनके बारे में. The third type is the social capital of an organization. And the fourth type is the intellectual capital. So, what is human capital of an organization? Human capital is all the experiences, the energy, the enthusiasm, the attitudes, the perspectives, the way people behave, and the skills, the knowledge they have, that the sum of that is the human capital of an organization. So human capital mein, what are the components of that? One is that the tacit knowledge that the employees of an organization have. The tacit knowledge is the knowledge that cannot be transferred, that cannot be given through information or through communication. It is something that can only be seen and observed by observing the way things are being done in an organization. So that tacit knowledge is something that cannot be brought down into words, or that cannot be explained. The second thing that is part of the human capital is the education that the employees of an organization they have. So the level of education, the level of experience they have is also the human capital of an organization. And the third and the most important thing that becomes the part of the human capital is the psychological capital. Psychological capital is made up of a few components, which can, some researchers, they classify them into 2 or 3 categories. Some of them, they classify them into 3 or 4 categories. But basically, the psychological capital is the level of confidence, the level of hope, the level of optimism, and the level of resiliency that the employees of an organization, they have within themselves. So, उनके जो psychological asset है, वो ये कि उनके अंदर कितना confidence है, वो काम कितने confidence के साथ करते हैं, उनको अपनी skills और abilities में कितना confidence है, फिर उनके अंदर hopeless लोग जो हैं वो कोई काम नहीं कर सकते, ना उम्मीद लोग कोई काम नहीं कर सकते. तो उनका level of hopefulness जो है वो क्या है, that also adds up to the psychological resources. The level of optimism, how optimistic are they about the outcomes of a particular situation, or the outcomes of what they do. How optimistic are they about that? और वो organization की success के बारे में कितने optimistic हैं, और वो अपनी success के बारे में कितने optimistic हैं. So optimism जो है वो भी, that is also a psychological asset. And then your level of resiliency. So the more a person is resilient, the more a person is able to get up after taking a fall, after failing, after failure. जितना इंसान ज़्यादा resilient होगा, उतना quickly वो किसी failure में से बाहर निकलेगा, उतना easily वो किसी downfall से वापस निकल के आ सकता है. So वो जो resiliency है आपकी human workforce के अंदर, that is also a psychological capital. तो ये सब चीजें मिलके जो हैं ये आपका ह्यूमन कैपिटल डिटरमिन करती हैं. और ह्यूमन कैपिटल that is becoming one of the most important capital of an organization, because this is something that cannot be replicated, that cannot be imitated. Then is your customer capital. Customer capital is, first of all, the relationships that you have with your customers. They are important. Your customers are the reason why you exist in the world. So the relationships that you have with your customers, the stronger the relationship is there between your customer and your organization, the more capital, the more assets you have in your organization. So that turns into brand loyalty. If you have a brand and your customers are loyal to that brand, that is also a capital of your organization. Then your distribution channels are also your customers. So your vendors, your suppliers, and the distribution network that you have, that is also an asset for your organization. Because if those vendors and suppliers are not there to support your business operations, then you would be lost. So that is also an important and major part of your customer. So अब उनको बजाय एक कॉस्ट समझे जाने के, उनको एक एसेट समझा जाता है कि आपके जो रिलेशनशिप्स हैं अपने वेंडर्स और सप्लायर्स के साथ, अपने डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नेटवर्क के साथ, वो भी एक आपका एसेट है. तीसरी चीज क्या है? That is your social capital. Social capital, as the word is very clear, that is the kind of social culture you have in your organization. So the culture of your organization is the first component of your social capital. So if the culture of the organization is positive, if that is optimistic, if that is transparent, if that is open, if it facilitates knowledge transfer, that becomes an asset for the organization. Then your management philosophy, the philosophy of your managers, what kind of philosophy do they have? That is also your social capital. Then your management practices, what kind of practices are conducted by your management. Then your informal networking systems, that the informal networks that you have within your organization, the way people get together, वो आपस में किस तरह से मिलते जुलते हैं, वो आपस में किस तरह से connected हैं, वो और informal networks not only within your organization but also informal networks of people of your organization with outside world. तो उनका जो network है, जो उनके relationships हैं outside the organization, they are also an asset for your organization. And then the social capital of your organization includes the coaching and mentoring relationships. So coaching and mentoring relationships जो हैं, जब कोई आपकी mentoring करता है, जब कोई आपका mentor बनता है, तो उसके साथ आपके बहुत close relationships develop हो जाते हैं और वो relationship भी एक strength है, एक asset है आपकी organization के लिए. Then is your intellectual capital of your organization. वो तो आपको पता ही है कि intellectual capital क्या होता है. Intellectual capital are the trademarks, the patents, the copyrights of your organization that they hold. So that is also an important part of your intangible assets. लेकिन हमारे लिए सबसे important जो type of capital है हमारी discussion के लिए, training and development के लिए, वो आपका human capital और आपका social capital है. So it is the members of your organization, the level of experiences, the level of education, the level of tacit knowledge they have, and the level of psychological capital they have, and the organizational culture that is there, that is the most important aspect of the intangible capital of your organization for the perspective of training and development. So the human capital and the social capital can be developed through training and development. That can be fostered, that can be trained, that can be retained and attracted through training and development. How that is possible? One study by American Society for Training and Development conducted over 500 US-based publicly traded company found that companies that invested most in training and development had 86% greater profits than the companies who were in the bottom half, and they had 46% greater profits than the market average. So organizations that invest in their people, that invest in their employees, those organizations, they perform better than the other organizations. They are more profitable than the other organization. So the human capital and the social capital that you develop, that you invest in, that pays off as well. So training and development is something that affects the level of skills of your employees, the know-how or the competence they have about their current jobs, as well as the work relationships they have in the organization. So that affects the kind of social capital you have in your organization as well as the human capital you have in your organization. The importance of the human capital and social capital of an organization, the importance of that has three implications. It may have other implications as well, but major implications of this emphasis is that you have got to focus on knowledge workers. Then you have got to focus on employee engagement. And third, you need to have a greater emphasis on adaptation to change and continuous learning. Why? In order to develop your human and social capital, you need to focus on knowledge workers. Why? You need to focus on employee engagement. And why do you need to focus on change and continuous learning? So first of all, knowledge workers are those workers or employees who contribute to the company not through manual labor, but through what they know, perhaps about customers or a specialized body of knowledge. So knowledge workers are those employees जिनके पास किसी तरह का specific knowledge होता है, जो कि अपने manual work की वजह से या अपनी manual skills की वजह से organization में importance नहीं रखते, बल्कि उनके पास कुछ ऐसा information होता है, for example customers के बारे में, markets के बारे में, या specific skills के बारे में, जो कि उनको that becomes an asset for the organization. So by more emphasis on the human and social capital of an organization, you need to develop, you need to give a focus on these knowledge workers, because they are the ones who have that specific and special knowledge that is important for your organization. So your training and development function, that should be focused on attracting such knowledge workers, retaining such knowledge workers, and developing such knowledge workers. Then the second emphasis that you need to put on is the level of employee engagement. What is employee engagement? That is the degree to which employees are fully involved in their work and the strength of their commitment to their job and the company. So an engaged employee is an employee which is involved in the job and that person is committed to the organization. So employee engagement is a higher level concept than job involvement and organizational commitment, as it includes both of them. So a person who is immersed in his job who finds his job interesting and is absorbed in it, and a person who is committed to the organization. That is the concept of employee engagement. So it is found that employee engagement brings a competitive advantage to the organizations. How does it bring a competitive advantage? That people who are more engaged in their work, that leads to higher productivity, better customer service and lower turnover. ऐसे लोग जो हैं वो ज़्यादा प्रोडक्टिव होते हैं, उनकी परफॉर्मेंस ज़्यादा बेहतर होती है, वो कस्टमर सर्विस में ज़्यादा बेहतर परफॉर्म करते हैं, सो कस्टमर्स ज़्यादा सेटिस्फाइड होते हैं. और तीसरा ये कि ये चूंकि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ कमिटेड होते हैं तो इनकी पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ टर्नओवर जो है वो कम होती है. सो दैट गिव्स अ कंपेटिटिव एडवांटेज टू द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. But what is the actual situation of employee engagement in organizations? A study was conducted on 50,000 employees, and it was found that 13% of the employees were totally disengaged from their work. So they would input minimal effort into the work and would be at the lowest level of productivity as well. These 13% disengaged people. Then 76% were moderately engaged. So a large population of the workforce was moderately engaged, and only 11% of the population was highly engaged in their work, where the population was highly involved and highly committed to their organization. So only 11%. And majority of the population was only moderately engaged. So what is the implication for the training and development function? एक तो हमें ये पता चला है कि एम्प्लॉय एंगेजमेंट जो है वो कंपनी को कंपेटिटिव एडवांटेज जो है वो प्रोवाइड करती है. दूसरी बात ये कि आम तौर पे नॉर्मल पॉपुलेशन में जो मेजॉरिटी है पॉपुलेशन की वो मॉडरेटली एंगेज है, हाईली एंगेज नहीं है. सो द थर्ड थिंग दैट पुट्स एम्फेसिस on training and development is that 50% employees or more have reported that engagement was affected by the frequency, quality, and number of workplace learning opportunities. So that means that development opportunity, learning opportunity, when it is given to employees, that improves the level of engagement in the workforce. So, and we have just said that the level of engagement that provides a competitive advantage. So, the more you provide training and learning opportunities to your employees, to your workforce, the more engaged they will be with your organization, with the work that they are performing, the greater human capital you will have in your organization. The third thing that is of emphasis is that you have to make your organization a learning organization that is adaptive to change. What is a learning organization? An organization that embraces a culture of lifelong learning, enabling all employees to continually acquire and share knowledge. So, a learning organization is an organization in which the employees, the members of the organization, they are continuously in the process of learning. And when they are continuously in the process of learning, they are continuously in a process of change. Because what is learning? Learning is something that leads to change in attitudes or behavior. So, if people are continuously learning, if your organization is providing them a culture, an environment, and opportunities that help them to continuously learn, that would lead to their ability to adapt to change. And that is important for the T&D function of your organization, because it is the responsibility of the T&D function of your organization to provide those learning opportunities, to provide that continuous learning opportunity to your members. और तो किसी की responsibility नहीं है, ये आपके T&D function की responsibility है कि वो organization के members को ऐसी opportunities provide करें जो कि उनकी learning ability को जो है वो support करें और उनको learn करने में help करें. Another thing that is affecting the environment of today's organizations is increasing diversity and the changing demographics of the current population. Diversity क्या है कि आपकी organization में बहुत सी तरह के लोग आके काम करते हैं. They belong to different ethnicity, that belong to different religions, that belong to different races. This phenomena is much more prevalent in the developed countries than in Pakistan or in the developing countries. Specifically in Pakistan, we don't have that much of diversity problem or diversity issues as there are diversity issues in the developed countries, because more and more people are moving to the developed countries. They want to go and work there. The developed countries, they need specific kind of people and skills, and they invite people from different parts of the world. Then the diversity is increasing because of the adherence to equal employment opportunity laws, which means that you have got to give an equal opportunity to all kind of people of your organization, of your population. So you need to include people of both genders. You also need to include people with disabilities. You need to include people from all races and ethnicities. So it is required by the law. So basically organizations, they follow diversity because they have got to follow these particular laws primarily. तो डाइवर्सिटी शुरू यहाँ से हुई थी कि बाय लॉ जो है वो आपको इक्वल एम्प्लॉयमेंट जो है वो प्रोवाइड करने की जरूरत है. लेकिन जब मुख्तलिफ तरह के लोगों ने आके काम करना शुरू किया, इकट्ठे मिलके काम करना शुरू किया, तो पता ये चला कि diversity is something that is good. Diversity is something that brings more perspective to your organization, that brings more information, that brings more different cultures and traditions. And because of having all these different perspectives, of having people who think in all these different ways, your organization is also able to think in all these different ways. And as you remember, we had discussed in previous lectures that people who are able to take different perspectives, they perform a lot better. So that is also applicable to organizations. Organizations who are able to include many different perspectives, they are also able to perform better and be more effective. So what are the major advantages of developing or fostering diversity in your organization? One is that if you manage diversity well, you can reduce the costs. If you will not be able to manage diversity in an effective way, and there will be crisis or there will be conflict between people coming from different races and ethnicities, then there would be definitely costs attached to that. So if you manage diversity efficiently, then you can reduce the cost. Then is another major advantage is that you will have more employee attraction and retention. So organizations who are known for welcoming people from different types of social sectors, they develop a reputation for that. And people want to go to such organization. So you will have a better pool of people who come to your organization than the other ones who do not manage diversity very effectively. The third thing is that you will have better market share because you have people from all types of sectors of your society So when these people will go and sell things of your organization, sell products and services of your organization, so people of those classes, they will identify more with those people. So for example, if you want to sell in KPK, and if you hire a person who speaks Pashto, that person would be better able to sell things in KPK than a person if you are an organization who is working in the province of Punjab and you want to go and sell in KPK. It would be better to have a person who is a resident of that province and is able to speak their language. Those people will definitely connect more with that kind of a person. So you will have more market share if you manage cultural diversity in an effective manner. Then it leads to more creativity, as I just said, that having different perspectives leads you to think in different ways, and thinking in different ways leads to creativity. That also leads to problem solving. Obviously, when you are able to see something from different perspectives, then you are able to better solve the problems that are coming up. And then your organization has more flexibility, and therefore when you have more flexibility, you are more adaptable to change and you are better able to learn. So diversity is something that gives you all these advantages. So what are the implications for the HR managers or the T&D function? Is that they have got to communicate effectively with people from different age groups, from different races. So they have got to learn that how they are going to communicate with these people, because they will be taking in information, they will be taking communication in different ways. So if a person is coming from Japan or if a person is coming from Germany, there is going to be difference between how you communicate to somebody who comes from Japan or somebody who comes from Germany. Then you also have to see that how will you coach and train and develop people who are coming from these different kind of backgrounds. What are the learning styles of these people? So what kind of coaching and training are you supposed to provide to these people? Then you've got to see that how are you going to provide an unbiased feedback that is free of values and free of stereotypes. So you have got to ensure that the managers who are giving feedback or who are giving performance appraisals about people coming from different backgrounds, they should not have any stereotypes. They should not have any biases in their mind. So you have got to ensure that as well. Then you have to train your managers to be able to manage these people coming from different backgrounds. So there may be different conflicts coming up, or the managers may need to communicate with them in different ways. So your organization needs to train your managers in order to be able to communicate with these people. And then finally, you have got to create a work environment which is supportive towards diversity, which is supportive towards having people from different backgrounds, from different sectors of the society. If you will not have an environment which is supportive, which is welcoming, and if your members of the organization will have negative attitudes about people of different ethnicities or different races, then it will become a negative environment. So you have got to create an environment in which people are tolerant, in which people are ready to accept differences, and in which people are welcoming towards different kind of people coming from different backgrounds. So this is what, as an HR manager, you have got to look after in your organization. So these were the different aspects of diversity management in your organization. Then another factor that is influencing today's organization is the importance of talent management. Talent management is the specific kind of skills that your employees have, that your organizational members have. And those are considered to be talents because they are special skills that cannot be replicated. As you know, that the economies, they are more and more shifting towards being service economies than production economies, manufacturing economies. So when your economy shifts towards the service sector, then in such a situation, the service that goes to your customers, that is affected by the people who are providing that service. So, product में तो आप जो product बना रहे हैं वही customer के पास जाना है. लेकिन service जब आप provide कर रहे हैं, तो जो service provide करने वाला है, that is also a component of the service. So the doctor who is looking after you, or the nurse who is looking after you, or the barber who is giving you the haircut is basically a part of the service that is being provided to you. So the way that person treats you, the way that person gives you that service is also part of that service. The haircut that you take away home, that is also that service, but while you are being given that service, that is also part of that experience, and the way that person gives that service, and also the skill level of that service, the skill level of the doctor or the skill level of the barber, that is going to affect the service that is actually given to you. So the responsibility of what is being given to the customer, it comes directly on the shoulder of the person who is giving the services. And then customization and variety requires that the people who are providing these services, they are able to be creative. So they are able to take initiative on their own. So that is only possible when you manage the talent of your organization in an effective manner. And that is possible by giving them effective and efficient training and development activities. So, developing the skill, developing the talent of your organization is the responsibility of the T&D function of the organization. Another factor that is affecting the training and development function is the advancement in technology. So with the advancement of technology, the training and development can be done in many different ways. So the delivery of training makes training more realistic. The different kind of delivery methods that are possible through new technology that makes training more realistic. For example, you can give online training to your employees. Online training का क्या मतलब है कि एक particular किसी end पे training provide की जा रही है, for example कोई lecture चल रहा है और वो online, let's say 100 locations के ऊपर जो है वो सुना जा रहा है, live सुना जा रहा है और online है इसलिए उसमें interaction भी हो सकता है. So the people who are sitting thousands of miles away may be able to put questions to the person who is giving that particular lecture or the seminar. It also allows training to occur at any time or any place. So a person may be sitting in his home and be part of that online training program. That person may be traveling and may be able to access your learning management system and be able to read and be able to go through different products or services that that person needs to learn about, for which that person is going to give presentation in about next 15-20 minutes. So he can do that while he is traveling to that presentation. So he can go through that on his mobile phone or on his iPad. It also reduces costs. So previously, when training function was conducted in a particular environment, in a particular location, people had to travel to those training events. Now that is possible through technology, that training can happen anywhere and anytime. So the different types of training that is available is online training. It is web-based training. That is training that could be available on DVDs or CD-ROMs. Training that could be available on your mobile applications. So these different ways in which training is possible through technology, that is changing the makeup of the training and development function. So now training does not have to be within a particular location or within a particular building. That can be done anywhere and at any time. So that makes it much more cost efficient, that makes it much more realistic, and it can be made accessible to a lot many more people of the organization. In this session, we have discussed the various forces that are affecting the way work is organized, and especially the way learning is organized in an organization. We have discussed the effect of globalization. We have discussed the effect of economic cycles, the importance of intangible capital of an organization. We have discussed the importance of diversity management, talent management, and we have discussed how new technology is affecting the training and development function of an organization. I hope you have found this discussion useful. Until next time, we will meet again. Allah Hafiz.